and we'll see if they can pull something out. Now, talking about ban stats, talking about those funneled ban stats, so far Mira has been banned 5 out of 6 maps. This is the second time Monty's been banned in the region, and Thatcher is the one that's been a little bit peculiar. Well, yes, he can be banned on certain maps, but we've seen him banned 4 of 6 maps, some of them the less familiar Thatcher ban maps.
Yeah, Thatcher ban's been a real head-scratcher. A lot of teams have been banning that recently, and yes, maybe it's because of the influx of Kaid being known to really cause a lot of issues, and if there is different Hibana bans coming in, then yes, Kaid can be a bit of an issue. But for the most part, don't really think it has that much impact compared to other massive operators that you could ban, like a Jackal, for example. And, you know, even what Lanchados has done, which is being a Monty ban, and we know how kind of pesky those shields can be whenever operators such as Echo and Mira kind of get out of the equation. It gives Monty a little bit more breathing room, and heck, sometimes we've even seen Legion bans, but they're more of the right kind of strategy.
Well, there is the standard hard destruction taken out of Clubhouse. Obviously not going to go with the double here. Hibana is still on the board, so that kind of gives them that freedom around those hatches alongside the actual destructivity that this map can bring. It's one that rewards double hard destruct because there's so many different places and players and plays to throw those two things together. Valkyrie, which is, as we all know, an eponymous kind of operator in this region, can be utilized so aggressively and effectively in and amongst their, well, aggressive and effective playstyle with the kind of roaming information and the MPX, which for them is an almost genre-defining gun. What Ness can do with that still gives a lot of team nightmares. But CCTV and Cash as we get into the first round. There is Ella on the board, and expect to see, as I said, a lot of kind of, I mean, you know, Thatcher and Thermite are standard picks. They haven't opted with the double hard destruction, but I guess on CCTV you don't massively need it. It's mainly there it goes. I was going to say it's so good and useful to have, but then I was trying to explain why it can also not be, and then they just do it. They go back to my point 1 anyway.
You need to have double hard breach on Clubhouse. There is no other way that you can really deal with the multitude of reinforcements that the defense get. You know, you look at basement, those free hatches, you need to have the Hibana, and if you're only running the Thermite, then you really limit yourself for that basement. Even if you look at towards this top floor, Kaid can be an issue, Bandits can be an issue. You can do the old trick where you'd place a Thermite charge on one side and Hibana pellets on the other. Bandit chooses one or the other. There's no other options for him, and you know, you even think about the kind of angle you can get from Garage, looking straight up towards the window. It sanctions off anybody who wants to try and rotate in towards Garage, and also if you want to pinch the man on top of Catwalk, that can also be a great way of dealing with it.
That's the thing. You also occasionally see them run the break open, that kind of CCTV balcony in the eastern side, and then they'll kind of rotate a bit of pressure over to logistics and construction side. Try and get some more angles there, really shepherd all of the defenders into either Cache, the top of Red Stairs, or Garage, and it means that you're kind of concentrated fire, and those fire lines can be much more aggressive because you know generally they're going to be in one of 3 locations instead of potentially all over the shop. Cypress setting up the standard run-out defense, and you can already see Hibana, as Demo said, getting open that Garage side to try and clear anyone that might be on the top floor. That man this time round is Tunisi on the Maestro, going to keep a long angle as Kaid is the one that is going to be tricking away in an attempt to stop anyone, and this is kind of a smart move because the standard way of breaking this open for a lot of teams is to get someone in directly underneath and crack that wall open.
I don't really think Kaid's going to make a difference though whenever Thatcher is being brought by Elevate, and simply there you go. One Thatcher grenade gets rid of the initial one, and another one goes off to stop that Kaid charge coming in. So that's basically how you deal with the Kaid whenever Thatcher is available, and that's what we kind of talked about with the Thatcher bans. That's what we see it, so teams don't have to struggle against Kaid, who we know can be pretty deadly to deal with if you don't do things correctly.
Well, Agalina is the first death, but Tanisi finds one back and battling across that top deck as Hibana's trying to flash them out and stun them, but so far it's just a matter of catching them in the wrong bit of space. Maestro pops some bullets towards, but the fire is on every side, and still in and amongst that finds a frag, but does unfortunately get cooked out of there as Capitao is a little too late to save his friend, but in enough time to avenge them. Gonna drop this Maestro cam and allow themselves some room to breathe on the opposite side. The other camera is down as well, and this is nice flat control as Cypress just charges right in. The diffuser is still outside, and the Zephyr gets dropped from wide swinging against the Cache door, but at least Zion finds his second underneath.
there is no point of Sophia pushing in if she doesn't have the diffuser to back it up. So now it goes into V2, a 1v2 now as Ella gets taken out of this situation, and well, just down to Perdidos. See how he will perform. Doesn't have the nurture cell, unfortunately. He, of course, could try and deny the plant, but there's Capital, fires on through, and Elevate, they take the first round, and Zion, who had the worst stats coming out of Pro League this season, is already off to a flying start.
Well, funnily enough, because obviously in the previous season of OGA, there was only LATAM. LATAM was the only region, and some teams that had at the time been struggling throughout that season of Pro League really just exploded when they got to OGA. I'm not saying, you know, it's the whole argument and the
Best
idea
of one scenario, perhaps.
Best of one versus best of three,
draws,
being in a different headspace as well, kind of having that fresh kind of plate and slate and going, well, we can make something of this now. There's nothing that's technically on our back. Yes, there's all these statistics outside of this, but here we go.
Yeah.
Let's take it to this fight, and you know, Elevate could be one of those potential teams that they have this to focus on, and you know, they might be able to make something of it. Church and Arsenal, they're going to opt to rotate the defensive point, keep themselves kind of, well, on their toes, which might allow them to keep their playstyle up, and not going to try CCTV in cash again.
So if you look at the bans, I wouldn't say that it favors really any one side, because we know that the attacks can be difficult for teams, and sometimes it makes it a lot more difficult whenever we see like Habani being banned away, or Thermite, for example, and then kind of the defense have a great chance of going for it if, you know, you're lacking Habana, especially towards Church, and that's kind of a prospect we've seen before, where if you ban a Maverick on Clubhouse, typically the attacks will have a more difficult time of going upstairs and trying to win the cash, but then they'll have an easier time of going, of course, in towards the basement because Habana's open. But if you ban Habana rather than the Maverick, then it's vice versa. All of a sudden, defense, they have a better time at Church because there's no Habana, and then the top floor, a little bit more difficult because Maverick, we know, is very potent in that bomb site.
Yeah, so I guess it really plays down to, well, how the team likes to play. I couldn't tell you, and I don't know if the stat ever exists, and if it does, it's a scary stat, of the last time Clubhouses ran with all three hard destruction on the table. Because at that point, your attackers are just in such good stead.
I've seen it before.
Have you?
Yeah, I've seen a Monty Jackal ban.
Wow, how quick was the game?
No, it was actually pretty back and forth, pretty
Wow.
even. Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate for whoever started on defense.
Well, I mean, bringing all three hard breachers, even if they are available, is still, like, pretty uncommon. Because, yes, whenever a ban and Thermite's open, you know, some teams don't even bring the Maverick. It is quite rare. You know, I kind of look at Maverick, especially for Clubhouse, as like a glorified Thatcher. But, of course, with the addition of Kite, it does make Maverick a little bit more difficult.
That's fair. I think for me it just kind of breaks it down so they have the option, so they can be quite versatile with it. So it suits both playstyles. Ones who like to get more formulated control, well, and ones
There's
who
the classic.
don't. Yeah, that is the maneuver. Pulse from underneath the Arsenal manages, well, inside the Arsenal, underneath the kitchen, manages to open up the frag. But in the meantime, Elevate have wasted no time getting these hatches open. Zion looking to cook out anyone that is behind the server box in blue, as Mitty is going to hold on to the top of this. And Cypress has already pushed all the way down Oil Pit and is, well, maybe not going to be as aggressive on previous life, but might be able to find something out of this. The wall of Church is being broken open, and they're keeping the eye on the Maestro. They have the single target now, and it's going to make it pretty much impossible to hold on in that corner, especially if the opposite guns are keeping a tight watch on those rotations.
So a blue memorial push is what it seems that Elevate are trying to attempt, and there's two quick kills for them, and the collapse now comes in, but still there's hope for Lanchados, as there's still that Ella lurking inside of Dirt along with Pulse, who can try and provide some information, but going with the pistol rather than the Scorpion, I understand it, but it's not going to be the play that saves her life. And well, Elevate, they just walk in and nothing's really being put up for Lanchados at this stage.
There's a little bit of a team kill inside there as well, and you've got to think that Elevate did very, very well even when the Thermite was the first off the board by accident, and they just kind of kept the roll on. They kept the aggression that had already popped open, and from then on it seemed pretty formulaic for them.
If you're bringing the Ella, you're expecting some pretty quick pushes from Elevate. That's the reason why she's there, to trap operator, try and slow down rushes. That's the whole point of, Legion and Ella kind of came in towards that year 2 point, was because attackers had a great way of just walking in the bomb sites. Capcan was pretty useless back in the day. That was before his massive changes where the lasers, of course, disappears, and he's 5 of them now rather than the original 3 that he used to get. So there is that kind of things you have to look at. But whenever you're playing your Ella, why not play her up close and aggressive where she can, like, even Ella, she can get stunned by Sophia charges or even her own mines, but that effect only lasts for her for like a second. Compared to the attackers, you get a full 5 seconds of the blast. Scorpion Evo, deadly gun in the close range. Why not play that up in blue? Why play that in dirt, where whenever you know they're not pushing kitchen or dirt, why still play your main fragger there?
It did also look like they handed blue over fairly quickly. Obviously, Capitan was looking
They
for
reinforced it, that's why as well.
Yeah,
they had walls reinforced.
And you kind of think you need that as a rotation possibility, just to eat utility, eat time, try and find one or two.
They're doing it again.
It's not a great idea. It boxes you in too much on a point that can be synonymously boxy, because if you think of all the space and all the angles that can kind of play into the benefit of those long-range guns, deep along oil, or from the top of blue, or again, even from the hatch, it just allows them to roll all the way up and set up their own crossfires. Mozzie, I like the addition of, as I said, it brings you a little bit more of that aggressive information game. Alongside the Pulse and the Maestro, they're really doubling down. Curious to see where Agalina goes on the Vigil, and if they do something more aggressive on the top floor. It does look like there's someone up there, but it is also being droned, so Vigil might find the space that they have to play in closing quicker than they expect it to. You can see yet again that traditional fast movement straight in on logistics and pre-fires to find Mitty, but there is the pickup in the trade. However, entry fragging with your Thatcher, whether they expect it to or not, that potentially leaves a lot of walls a little bit tough. However, I've just noticed no Kaid for the first time.
Yeah, Lanchados, they have kind of gone away from the approach of anchoring in towards the church. They've realized that, hey, whenever Habana and Thermite is available, of course the attackers have a great thing going for them and the options that you can breach open. So instead, the roam game will be their option. And hey, at the moment, it's working already. 2 kills from the roam game. They've wasted utility and they've wasted time, and another one as well for Zlab, but then quickly gets refrag. But the damage has been done. Elevate now at 2 versus 3, and there's still Maestros and Legions and even a C4 from the Pulse to get through.
Now, I can't quite remember what team it was that we cast recently that had 3 roamers on the top floor of Clubhouse on this. It was G2, actually. It was G2, and they responded with this aggression that really took the defenders by surprise, and it seems to be working in the favor of Lanchados so far. But again, there's a minute 30 and 2 hard destructions left. They're trying to creep this diffuser closer and closer to the point, and they are on the opposite side to allow at least some distraction and pincering. But from this point onwards, they've got to try and find those bodies inside as well. If you think that Legion still on the board, Pulse can be feeding that information. The big guns of Maestro are still rattling, and there's from behind, holding on the corner of Armory, and now Thermite's in a bit of a firefight here, but has a double and a Legion mine in his foot. But with a minute on the clock and the diffuser, he's being continually watched and pinged by the Maestro cam. They know where he is and know when he's going to peak. Just tries to swing round anyway, and this is a terrifying gun to pick on any 5-5 Maestro. What are you doing? All the information in the world, and you swing the wrong way.
They speak Portuguese in Brazil, yeah?
Yes.
Why was those communications then all of a sudden French, it seemed to be, for Lanchados?
What do you mean they were French?
There was a constant Maestro camera on the Thermite, and he's still pre-firing blue whenever they can see he's about to peek the rotation hole.
Yeah. That is a bit of, that's a head scratcher, really. You are wondering what was being blasted down the comms there, because at that point, Thermite looked at the Maestro cam and went, uh-oh, there's no way for me to take care of this. I'm just going to have to swing and peek it and hope I can win it on aim sense. Maestro, at that point, should win that. Has the Alder, has the ability to keep that at range, and yet doesn't.
So sure, we'll give Thermite the great heads up of getting those opening 2 kills, but he should never have gotten that Maestro. Maestro at that stage, if you have that constant information being gathered by the camera, you fall back in the moto. You know he's nowhere near you. You know you have about 30 seconds left. You know Thermite has to plant, more importantly, and you play the clock from there.
Yeah. Especially with Maestro as well, because he could have also moved the cameras. Okay, that's enough.
Yeah, he
of
could have gotten the camera. Yeah, he could have sat in moto and
could've.
just started zapping away. And honestly, Thermite, if he took a full blast of Maestro cameras before it started getting overheated, that could have been a dead Thermite as well.
Because where we first saw Maestro was still by the church wall as well. He was still on the opposite side. He had hard reinforcements. He could have gotten cover, and if he'd swapped to his Maestro cam, he would have been able to swing it round and keep it mobile and keep it active. And, you know, there's a lot of that. But let's move on. 3-0. We're heading back to CCTV. This was obviously the first round we saw, and weirdly it was the closest. Looks like Lanchados are leaning back and heavier into this roam game as Agalina just runs out and Briefire, unfortunately thin air, but is going to vigil out of there. The crossfires are already in, and great idea to rotate there. That's where you bring those impacts for those emergency situations. They've also got Caveira on the board as well, who's going to be causing some issues, and Zla is back on the Mozzie, who we saw pick up a double previously on the roam. Is that shotgun Caveira?
Yes, it is. Spaz 15. Pretty beefy gun whenever it kind of first came out, but that was the era whenever shotguns were the most ridiculous thing that you could ever hold. And since then, it's kind of fallen off a bit. You really need to get up close and personal, and particularly whenever Caveira plays that kind of roamer, jump outs are always going to be a thing, so you kind of prefer the SMG to take those long-range engagements. In a map like Clubhouse, where we've seen like strip runouts before and different bedroom ones, you always kind of want to have the SMG. Oh, but she's just did the loop-de-loop on the drone, and now she's in and could be ready here to get an interrogation. Yes, she will. Caveira, interrogation.
Well, they are a treat for anyone, and well, unfortunately not for the victims. The first interrogation of the OGA pit, hopefully not the last, and you can see she suffered half health for it, and the Jackal's been taken, but Elevate otherwise haven't suffered. They've been able to still find bodies in and amongst, and there goes another roamer, and it's the triple kill at this point. Just charges in and somehow gets the quad. Unbelievable, and the ace. Oh my god! Levi, you machine, was furious that his teammate was interrogated.
He's making a frag movie by himself.
That is the
What the?
second ace and the first interrogation in the same round.
That round was finished by like a minute. Again, what is this with Brazil? It is absolutely absurd. I'm just a poor EU boy. I'm used to, like, vitality. I'm not used to this, Fluke. This is bonkers.
Well, Church, we head to next. And we find our way down
This
to
is too much.
Church. Elevate 4-0, and even in the face of being completely revealed by an interrogation and the
That
shame...
Thermite was 5-speed for a portion there.
Thermite was powered by the fuel of how dare you interrogate my players. Who was it? Was it Thatcher that got interrogated as well?
I think, was it the Jackal?
Ah, it might have been the Jackal. If it was the Thatcher, then that's a whole like story there.
Yeah, the irony of the Jackal getting kind of hunted by
The irony
roamer.
is there.
But then again, Caveira counters Jackal to begin with, so...
It's one of those counters where it's like, yes, it's a counter, sure, but you've got to be real tricksy about it to use the silent step. Probably like that's
You need to be able to kind of maneuver around and use the because it kind of works as you have to be in your silent step as the ping's about to go off. So you kind of have to time it, don't you? It's like a vigil, like whenever you have to try and dodge a drone with a vigil.
It's kind of like what I've seen from some of the new game mode, the Doctor's Curse. I'm kind of sad we haven't seen any of the skins from that yet. Maybe over the next couple of days we'll hopefully start to see.
Wow,
more.
another skin debate. Love those.
Yeah, but they seem nice and vibrant, and they're at least not camouflage.
At least don't blend in the background with a lot of things.
Setting themselves up back onto Church. Obviously, they're going to keep the point rotation going still, but going to only keep it bouncing between the pair. Seems like they've stepped off the aggression. Well, apart from that Mozzie, who suffered a fate very quickly. Zion opens up the frag against a Mozzie who had a very good opening round, but there is the refrag. Great trade there from the Legion, who was playing aggressively on the central stairs and is actually just going to pull himself back down. Good response to be able to find one in and amongst it. And again, this is a lot of, I guess, Elevate aren't expecting to find Lanchados as quickly as they are.
Jackal footsteps work as a color code. Whenever they're red, it means that he's right beside you. If they're blue, it means he was there 2 minutes ago. Those are red hot footsteps, and he didn't go for the scanner. Wasn't even aware that somebody could be around that. That's sloppy Jackal work.
Has anyone explained to him that he can use the ability?
Yeah, exactly. You see red hot footsteps, you scan that straight away.
Yeah, it
makes no sense.
It's a style of Jackal play I don't recommend to replicate. But there is the drop down on Legion, finds the trade and the refrag, hits, well, the cap cannon and amongst the damage, but is now just aggressively knocking onto the door of Church. And no, Capcan finds the head over the top. Agalina drops hell and is just going to hold on to Memorial Door now. They're still putting on some pressure from blue, and you can see the body running above inside kitchen as well. It looks like they want to double down against this Memorial drop down, as they're actually, they're going to double down against all drop downs, clear the way against this doorway, trying to hit any stuns or Capcan traps that might still be there, and here comes the more steady push. Obviously, Thermite is still on the board, can try and crack open Church Wall, and is, as Cypress is going to cover the rotation and might be able to, well, yeah, drop the Maestro camp.
Still, triple wall has been opened up by Elevate, and it's given them a great entry in, but sadly, really, for Elevate, they've just forgotten about the blue push that was on. You had Cypress ready to go to try and find another way of attacking this bomb site, but all three of you have grouped up now, and once again, it's left in a clutch position for Elevate.
Well, you can see he's using his time to set a drone up, does have 45 seconds, but there's a man behind the reinforced wall of blue, I say, when it's pretty consistently generally been all reinforced, and they're just going to keep an eye on that diffuser, which is a little bit too far away. They've left a bit open of it now, and you can see that it's actually had, I mean, I don't want to claim it's had all the effect, but it's had a more positive effect, because they've allowed themselves to keep eyes, as Levi's going to try and get this diffuser down. They hear it, they have the information. Pulse is bringing his ability out wide, but there is the swing from the Thermite, bringing it to a 1 versus 1. This has suddenly become a tough situation. They just allowed him to plant and find the second. Elevate keep getting away with this, and they shouldn't.
Elevate are not playing well. It's just the fact that Lanchados are playing worse.
Yeah, it's...
like, this is absolutely ludicrous.
They're getting away with so much that should be being punished. And I can't kind of stress this enough. Look at the information possibilities that they have on the team.
There's a constant ping, and he's trying to pulse him from 30 meters away. That pulse scanner can only pick up like 12 meters, and he's trying to scan across the map.
5-0.
You know, like,
5-0 we sit on. We look like...
This is attack on Clubhouse.
We look like we're funneling towards our first 7-0, if this keeps up. Elevate are doing okay. Lanchados...
This is the professional football team going against the under-12s.
Lanchados are
That's what it's like.
Lanchados are doing less okay. We go to the final defensive round for Lanchados. They're back on Church. It seems like, and I'm going to give them some compliment here, they're changing things up as it goes. They didn't do a full reinforce onto blue. They kept a little bit open to be able to have some rotation and possibilities and have some sightlines, which they didn't use, but the possibility is there. They're also trying to bring this kind of more active game, and they're able to repeatedly find a Jackal that is struggling to understand the headgear he's been given before deployment. But otherwise, Elevate have consistently at least found their way to point pretty quickly.
Last round for Lanchados, and can they finally do something? Anything? Just a round. We don't want 7-0s here. We want to see a good matchup.
I will say they did give us the first interrogation. That was great to see.
Sure. Still end up as an ace for Elevate.
It did end up as an ace for one of the players on Elevate. But at the same time, it was an ace as well, where Thermite just charged through.
Yes.
Like, he went to point A to point B and tried to kill every single thing on the way, and it was successful. That's the first Jackal scan we've seen.
Oh, finally! He knows how to use it. Great.
First Jackal scan we've seen come in. Jackal is refusing to throw himself into the hailfire of Lanchados, and again, at least they're kind of learning to get a bit more control. They know that Lanchados has been developing a roam game, and Cyprus does not care. There is the trade. There is Jackal off the board first. Hell finds another upstairs, but look at Zafir in the meantime, taking complete control of blue, as the rest are all just underneath. It looks like they've reinforced a lot, as they're going to pre-fire some walls and kind of put the threat into God around that church area that they are there. But here comes the hatch, and Agalina is going to get aggressive underneath with the SMG rather than hold a corner with the shotgun. Suffers bullets from the side, is still worried about the top, and no! Suffers a fate and drops as Levi pushes towards the point. Is inside church now. They have pretty much all of site control, and Jaeger, how do you not see what's going on? Hell finds another double kill. It's just the Pulse in a corner where everyone is everywhere and the diffuser is being planted.
Honestly, at this stage, I don't even think Lanchados are like in a team speak together, and somehow he's just pulled this into a 1v1 and he's sticking a defuse. Oh, but there's the tap. Never mind.
Why? That was why?
Who sticks the defuse straight away? Who goes for that? What a crazy guy.
That's so brave.
These guys have nerves of steel, though, don't they? They're absolutely absurd. It's just, it's so wild.
I was wildly gesturing in the studio of excitement when Pulse somehow rotated into point to get the triple.
I can't believe he just stuck to defuse straight away.
That would have been the best clutch.
There's a part of me I felt that was actually going to work, sticking to defuse straight away, because nobody ever does that, so why would Elevate expect it? That's the thing. Whenever something's so common, and now all of a sudden you do the opposite of that, it's...
CCTV and cash we go. CCTV and cash we go to. I cannot believe this is the first map of the night as well. Like this is the opener, and I don't really know emotionally where I can go from this.
I said to you before the game, Sam, do you think we'll see a 7-0 tonight? And you said, oh, I hope not.
I kind of hope we don't hear.
Straight away.
I want Lanchados.
Straight up.
And I'm sorry, Elevate fans, if you're listening, but for me, if Lanchados did some crazy extreme plays now, it would be the best Siege story, I think.
All right. I will shave my head if they win this match.
You heard them, Lanchados.
I will shave my head.
Lanchados, you may not hear your team giving comms inside the headsets, but if you hear demo now, you can get this man shaved. 6-0 we sit on for the first time as well. No one so far throughout any of these matches and any of the series has ever got to a 6-0. Whether the games have then ended on 7-1, it's normally they drop one in the first half and then manage to find it in the rest. So this is, again, another first. And I guess we'll see if Elevate can respond with this aggression. It looks like they're aware and concerned, and well, puts a lot of bullets into the diffuser carrying Thatcher, but none of them, unfortunately, are the one that kills him as they just pull back a little bit now.
So cash room being held now for Elevate, and pretty typical. You have the Kaid, who's not even on site, ready to go, and he's also just popped off his Electroclaw, so it's not as if he's going for the Kaid trick. So that should bear pretty bountiful fruit if you are Lanchados, whenever you don't have to worry about that. And, well, he's just going for it.
Well, Zalar gets the opening frag against Levi. Has generally been pretty successful in that, but normally it's trades on defense. Hell at least brings it back to a 4-4, dropping Agalina, and that's the Jackal off. So this, well, I'm going to say eccentric roam game could work in their favor now that the roam tracking is gone. Maestro's a big loss in terms of utility, but if I'm completely honest, at this point it just seems like Elevate are playing this as Call of Duty and trying to not let anyone inside the house. Holding the open Hibana holes, who's wide swinging and wide peeking. Hell's doubled up to try and help with this, but if I'm honest, I don't think they really do, because at this point, look how scared Lanchados are of entering the building, hiding behind the white vans and just trying to wait for them to sacrifice themselves. Elevate otherwise again, not really paying too much attention to the point, as the east balcony does get cracked open, and from this you can see they've at least started to rotate a little bit back, but the bodies of Lanchados are swarming all around and on exceptionally low health. There's the pre-fire against the door a little bit too early as Zafir doesn't quite swing in, but then just swings wide. Zalal gets taken off, and Mitty at least finds the frag they begged for in the beginning.
So Elevate have all control, and they're just running rampant. It's a fun house for them, and well, Lanchados, unfortunately, they're the mirrors that are unfortunately being broken bit by bit. Another one lines up for Vigil, but actually gets taken out from behind. That's the man outside the garage, but a quick refrag, and well, he was hunting for that kill for quite a while. The Claymore says hello to him, and he is blasted off the side of the earth, and now a 2v2, and well, still, I think for Elevate, they should have this being held.
This game is blowing me away right now. This game is everything that I ever wanted. I just want to sit back and watch, but I can't. The pressure and the pings and the long arm battles across this eastern balcony, that just suffers more bullets, but somehow finds the frag in and amongst this. A 2 versus 1. It is a sliver of health apiece on Lanchados, 15 seconds to get inside. Mozzie still has Nitro Cell in pocket. The pre-fires and the pings come out. Just doesn't have to peek this. Doesn't really have to take the point. Just has to throw this C4. That should be... No, he's going to stick the plant in and amongst it. Can't find him. You know where he is. There he is. And that is the 7-0 in favor of Elevate.
Cypher's nearly missed him as well, and that could have been a little bit sketchy there if he lost that one, but Elevate, 7-0 decimation of Lanchados, and there's not really much we can say apart from, well, Elevate, well played to you, and I think this is just a sign of what's to come in Chapter 2, which is going to come up